I wasn't going to try and get a segment out of this BBC Politics Live bit, but I have to put this up because what she said here is so deranged, so fundamentally deranged.
I think it's incredibly disrespectful. I don't think anyone can be under any illusion that there will be those who want to see this as their opportunity to make their case. It won't be a sort of a quiet, simply a static protest looking for peace or a ceasefire. It will be people wanting to cause havoc. And at a time when millions across the country want to remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice. In my constituency, we have...
That's not what Armistice Day is for. Armistice Day is about the fact that there was an armistice on the 11th of November. There's no protest on Remembrance Sunday, which is the day where we commemorate the sacrifice of people who died to keep the world free from fascism. Saturday is a celebration of the armistice, which is why there's a protest, because they also want a ceasefire. They want a cessation of hostilities in Israel and Gaza.
Beautiful poppies that have been made by the WI and by local communities adorning our town halls. It is simply not an appropriate time to do it.
But the organisers have said it won't be anywhere near the cenotaph. It is billed as a peaceful demonstration. As you know, many people don't commemorate, of course, Remembrance Weekend. Football matches go ahead, people go shopping or even to the pub. But you still think it's disrespectful?
It's a very special day of remembrance for...
True. It's a really special day of remembrance, the day which isn't even the Remembrance Day. And on top of that, as has been rightly pointed out, people will literally just go about their daily lives. Nothing stops. It's not a bank holiday.
All of those who paid the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms and our peace, so that people can...
True, literally. They paid the price for our freedoms. So to celebrate that, I'm going to take away your freedom to protest, right? They literally want to have the state banning people's ability to be able to protest. But no, we don't have free speech in this country. We have freedom of assembly, freedom of expression. We don't have freedom of speech. But even then, I'm not talking about legal grounds. What I'm saying is that the kind of rightoids who will try and say that being disinvited from a private function is a violation of freedom of speech, having your Twitter account suspended is a violation of freedom of speech, they'll be cheering on an actual violation of freedom of speech, which is when the state does something, right? When the state criminalizes the acts of speech that you engage in. All of the free speech types who bang on about it all the time when it comes to private individuals who have every right to be able to decide what the utility of their forum is. But as soon as the government is doing it against people they don't like, suddenly all of their free speech belief goes out the window.
Why has Suella Braverman called them hate marches? Do you not agree with her?
I absolutely believe in the right to peaceful protests.
But I'm talking about the language being used by the Home Secretary.
I'm not interested in the language that she's
the Home
used.
Secretary, Andrea.
No, I'm absolutely interested in Armistice Day, in Remembrance Sunday, being the opportunity for people to commemorate peacefully, as we do year in, year out, a core part of our national culture. And what I'm not interested in is Labour trying to make political capital out of it and start talking about... No, it isn't. It isn't okay.
You're literally trying to make political capital out of it right now.
Okay for anybody to do it.
Right.
We should be absolutely as one, Peter, and I do believe we are as one, except that we're on air and so you're trying to make politics out of it. Armistice Day...
Well, let Peter respond to that, because that's quite an
special day.
Is that what you're doing?
I chose my words very carefully. We as a body politic need to take the heat out of this.
Exactly
I am calling out those politicians who are actually driving a wedge through
Adding heat to it.
Exactly, and I mean the Home Secretary.
Which is what you are doing.
The Home Secretary has the position to take
Incredible she can sit there and say, by you saying people are trying to inflame tensions, you are also inflaming tensions. So what, so the Home Secretary and the Prime Minister should be able to inflame the tensions further? That's fucking nonsense, Andrea.
Heat out and lead our country through difficult times when people do take to the streets.
Well, actually, while we're on this, then, it's not just the opposition, Andrea, because Saeed Avasi, former Conservative Party chairman, tweeted far-right and football hooligans main risk of disorder at pro-Palestinian march police fear. This is what the Home Secretary has unleashed with her divisive rhetoric. Culture wars may win you headlines, but they damage our country. Does she have a point?
I mean, I don't agree with what Saeed is saying. What I have absolutely asserted is I think it is very disrespectful to protest on Armistice Day.
Is it fitting or disrespectful?
I think it would be sensible if the organisers held the march on a different day. There's no reason why it has to be on Saturday. But part of the reason I say that is because protests, you are trying to encourage people to come with you. We've seen with protests with Just Stop Oil, with Insulate Britain.
No, protests are supposed to be disruptive. Protests are disruptive so that people can't ignore you. The fact that now every single channel is talking about how triggered they are about the fact that people are protesting for an armistice on Armistice Day, it means that it's continually in the public consciousness, which is the whole point of protest. What, a march for peace on Peace Day? You can't call for a ceasefire here. This is the armistice room.
They didn't bring people to their cause by doing things that were disruptive to members of the public. And so clearly, I think it is right that people are able to go out there and raise concerns about what is going on with Gaza, what is going on with civilians being I think that when that gets mixed in with poppy sellers feeling like they're intimidated, number one, that's unacceptable. And number two, it's not helpful for the cause that they are trying to put forward.
Fitting or disrespectful?
Yeah, I think I would just say to people considering going on
There's
these...
no one on this panel. Did they not think to invite somebody on the panel who was pro the march? You have two people trying to be ambivalent about the march, saying, well, it has to go ahead even if I disagree with it, and two people saying it should be cancelled, right? Why not have somebody on your panel, BBC, who actually has the positive position on these? But of course, that would involve any amount of balance on this, rather than just a bunch of people agreeing with whatever the political status quo is handed down by Tim Davie via the media department from the government.
Politicians have said in the run-up to this weekend that it's an operational matter. It's a matter for the police to decide. Well, they've decided. So why is Rishi Sunak meeting Sir Mark Rowley, head of the Metropolitan Police? Does he not agree or trust his decision?
It's vital that the police do take responsibility for operational matters. But last Saturday, just a few days ago, I was going out in town, went through Embankment Tube shortly before it was closed up because there was a sit-down protest of people shouting Israel is a terrorist state. Police were surrounding them, and I walked up to a police officer and said, why aren't you arresting people? And that police officer said, there are so many protests going on, we can't police them all. We don't have enough people here. If we start arresting people and it gets violent, we're worried we won't be able to cope. Prevention is absolutely critical. The public...
Israel is a terrorist state, so and whilst you call it a state that deliberately kills innocent civilians in service of ethno-nationalism and ethnic cleansing, like, I'm sorry, arrested for what? Being too truthful, disagreeing with INGSOC.
The order bill is designed to enable police to break up such disturbances. And in the end, they had to close the tube so that people who just wanted to go out on Saturday night couldn't do so. What we have to have is the right...
Yeah, ask about the Palestine regiment, the British Army. True.
Right, but in terms of powers, you have got,
There
or
are
rather the
powers.
police have been given extra
Yes.
powers. So are the police not using those powers, or do they need more?
It is not apparent to me that the police need more. The public order bill sought to give the police the powers they need. As Mark Rowley said, they don't have the powers to stop a peaceful, static protest. But what this sort of protest all over the place is designed to do is to create anarchy, so that there will never be enough police to be able to prevent that kind of hate being spewed on a Saturday night when people are...
Yeah, literally, apparently, attacking the construct of a state is hate speech, right? Again, this is where the rhetoric of all Jews are therefore part of Israel, that's where it leads you to. This ridiculous conflation between the state of Israel and the international Jewish community. This conflation, which is explicitly anti-Semitic, right? It's explicitly so, to try and say that all Jews are tied to the state of Israel. Therefore, by criticising the construct of even what the state, not even the state itself, but what the state does, what the government of that state does, the logical pretzels these people have to twist themselves into to try and say that somehow by saying that Israel is bad, you're saying that Jewish people are bad.
There'll be a lot of people who will think if Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, doesn't want this march to go ahead, why doesn't he stop it? Is that because he just doesn't have the leadership, putting aside the powers and laws, that he just doesn't have the clout to enact his wishes?
Well, it's not a matter of clout. It's a matter of fundamental democratic principle that you don't.
So he's going to try. He's going to try and persuade. He's going to try and persuade the Met Chief this afternoon to do exactly
to do the right thing. But it's really...
Yeah, the democratic principle of banning protests. What the fuck are you talking about, Andrea? The basis of our liberal democracy is the right to protest. Just because it might make you feel bad, it gives you the hurty feels. They're doing it on your special day, right? They're doing it on the Poppy Day, i.e. the day where we commemorate the peace of Armistice Day in World War I, where people are calling for an armistice. Like, you literally fucking 12 IQ, Andrea. I mean, she is a Tory. Obviously, yes, they are all 12 IQ. But you're literally saying, let's be anti-democratic to protect democracy. How does that even make any sense? How does that make any sense?
Really important that we uphold our democratic principles. Prime ministers don't decide who gets to protest or not. That is a police operational matter.
So why is he talking to him then? He's made the decision.
Because he's perfect. Because we have freedom of speech. So of course the Prime Minister can talk to the...
But apparently you don't want it though. Apparently you don't want freedom of speech. Apparently your belief in freedom of speech is so paper thin that a Prime Minister intervening in a legal matter between the public and law enforcement is absolutely fine in terms of free speech. But people exercising the democratic right to protest shouldn't be allowed because it hurts your fees that it's happening on a day that you don't want. Let's just be clear about exactly what Andrea Leadsom is saying here.
Chief
to make him change his mind.
To persuade him, not to make him, no. And as you've heard, Mark Rowley so far is absolutely resisting and is determined to let these protests go ahead.
Yes, because it's the law. It's literally the law. We have a peaceful right to protest. Just because it's on the day that hurts your feelings, because let's be real, that's all this is, right? That's all this is. Saying, oh, it's disrespectful. All this means is I am getting the hurty fees. That's all that she's saying here. I find it offensive. I find it offensive that you're doing that, right? And it's not I find that offensive, so I'm not inviting you to my comedy club. It's not I find offensive, so I want you to get disinvited from the university that I pay money to attend. This is I find that offensive, so I want law enforcement, the arm of the state, to make sure that people who engage in it are criminalised, right? These are two separate things that she's saying here, or two positions, right, that the right-wingers believe in. Why should we ban the march? Because we have freedom of speech. Like, this is the most crazy shit. I wasn't going to try and get a segment out of this BBC Politics Live bit, but I have to put this up because what she said here is so deranged, so fundamentally deranged.
But this
Isn't
is
that
how
because
the
it's limited
democratic
within the
system
law
works.
of freedom of speech in this country that
This is
he
how
can
the
only
system
stop the
works.
protests under certain circumstances?
Law which they passed this time, and when it's on, when
And
we're
that's
talking
absolutely
about,
right.
and when we're talking.
But nevertheless, what we're all trying to say here, as you've yourself said, it would be great if people don't attend these demonstrations. I just gave an example. My Saturday night, half the people there were young white people, and I would ask them, when you shout from the river to the sea, which river are you talking about? Which sea are you talking about? Do you have any idea what you're talking about?
We are all
hang on.
I mean, you may have been an idiot who was completely politically ignorant when you were a young person, Andrea. But young people today are incredibly switched on. But I guess they've just been brainwashed by TikTok and the Chinese government into hating the West or whatever it is, whatever Alice Denby thinks people have been indoctrinated into. No, we just have seen the pictures on the ground. We have a basic amount of media literacy to understand that the bunch of propaganda coming out from the Israeli government is just basically completely untrue. And then we know that there's no justification for what's going on. And we are also plenty educated on the history of the Palestinian territory. Like, we know what we're talking about. This level to which where she's just trying to patronize people, saying, oh, these are white people. White people can't understand why decolonialization is good or bad in her sense. She thinks it's bad, we think it's good, right? Incredible. Like, and talking about specifically white, you can't be empathetic with the Palestinians because you're white. That's really fucking racist that she's saying there as well. Hey there, if you enjoyed the video, make sure that you like and leave a comment. That helps the video out in the algorithm. If you subscribe and ring the bell, it'll let you know when I go live. I stream every day on YouTube and Twitch. You can also follow all of my socials down in the description. And if you want to support me in a more financial manner, there's a join button for memberships. It's just 99p to be a member on YouTube, as well as a Patreon, and there's some merch there as well. And hopefully I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.